Let's focus on the first big topic on Pro Soccer Talk this week. And that's Erik ten Hag to Manchester United. The worst kept secret is out. It's finally been confirmed that he's the new manager on an initial 3-year contract with an option of a further year. And we knew this was going to happen, obviously. But I want to talk more about which players Man United should keep, should sell, and should buy for Erik ten Hag in this incredible rebuild he has. But first reactions, Nick Mendola. What do you think about Erik ten Hag being confirmed? Good appointment? Is he the best manager available? And we've spoken a lot about his tactics. He's like a mini Pep Guardiola, right, in this style of play. And maybe kind of a mixture of Jurgen Klopp as well, from what we've seen at Ajax. So on paper, it seems like a very good appointment.
It does. It keeps throwing me off that he's technically older than Pep Guardiola because we haven't seen him like in these super high profile. It's like, wait a minute, you don't get hired everywhere when you're 35. So I think he's a good appointment. Is he the best manager out there? Maybe. It's challenging because I think we don't know who's really available. We don't know who would leave their club. And remember when Newcastle changed managers and all of a sudden there were rumors that Unai Emery who would have thought he was available while he was leading his team on a big run. But when it comes to United, I think they've got a really good shot here. The reason I can't tell you whether or not it's a good appointment, and we've talked about this a lot, is are they going to get out of his way? They are hiring people to do soccer-specific jobs for once, but are they going to let him do what he wants in the personnel department? If he decides he doesn't, and I'm not saying this is the case, he doesn't want Harry Maguire or someone else that they've paid a lot of money for, are they going to sell him? Are they going to listen to him? Are they going to give him 2 years to run the show? And if they do that, I know they'll be better than they are now. How much better, we'll see.
Andy, the key thing Nick mentioned there is time, right? He needs time.
Yeah.
Even when you look at some of the big projects and the great teams now in the Premier League, Liverpool, Man City, those great managers were given time to overhaul, to move players out. And it takes time, right? So do you think, given time, obviously let's look at the crystal ball here. Do you think Ten Hag is a good appointment? But maybe as a coach, he probably will be, but it's all the other factors that come into play, right?
Yeah. Is he a good coach? Yeah, clearly. He's done some very good things at Ajax. I think he's shown to be very tactically flexible as well. And so it's a good point that Nick brings up there, and the fact that he's got a little bit of the Klopp pressing style, but he really, really enjoys the possession like Guardiola. Like, he has been very, very flexible with the personnel that he's had at Ajax. He's been flexible even from playing domestically and then going into the Champions League over recent years as well. And so he's clearly a very deep thinker, a smart guy who, given the day-to-day running of the first team, the training sessions, the tactics, the man management, all of that part of it, he's clearly up for the job. And I would say probably a number of the Manchester United managers who have been there since Sir Alex Ferguson retired have been up to that job as well, have been good enough to do that job. It's just been about, and again, to Nick's point, the support that the managers have gotten from the backroom staff and from the technical staff, from the boardroom. They've been financially backed with hundreds of millions, and you can't say that they've not been given money to spend, but how have they spent it? Have they spent it smartly? Have they spent it on players and positions that they need, or have they simply gone out and said, who's the biggest star that's available today? That's who we'll sign and bring in. And I know that almost seems like a running joke at this point, but it does feel like, how many Instagram followers does someone have? Like, it feels like that factors into Manchester United making on-field decisions in terms of who they're going to sign in recent years. And so it's no wonder that the club's ended up in this position that they're in right now. The fact that they need not just a rebuilding, but they need a complete overhaul from the very top down. There's probably 5 or 6 players in the first team that I would say absolutely should be and will be in Erik ten Hag's plans for his first season coming up next season. And it's not so far away, by the way. It's going to be a really short summer. It's going to be a really short preseason, not a lot of time for training before teams are into fixtures that matter, I believe in late July or very, very early August because of the World Cup in 2022.
That's a great point. I think it's good now that Man United have already hired him. We can already start putting the building blocks in place. If he hasn't been doing that already behind the scenes with Ralf Rangnick, an interim charge, he's obviously going to stay at Ajax for the rest of that season. And as soon as the Premier League season finishes, he's straight in the door at Manchester United to hit the ground running. What I like is that there's a clear philosophy and style of play to his coaching style. He was the Bayern Munich reserve team manager when Pep Guardiola was there. He is called Little Pep in a lot of different ways. He resembles Guardiola's style. So I'm really intrigued to see how that plays out in the Premier League, because everyone scoffs at the Dutch league, right? Oh, Ajax are always going to win it. He's got great resources, but he's done it in the Champions League. If you watch Ajax's teams over the last few years in the Champions League, they're not just getting to the knockout stages and the latter stages. They are blowing teams away with their attractive, entertaining football, sometimes not even playing Sebastian Haller up top and going for a false nine, flexible tactically, and I just really like it. But essentially, as good a coach as you are only as good as your players, and that is the thing I want to focus on now, gents. I mean, which players would you keep at Manchester United? Let's go straight at it. Nick Mendola, looking at the squad list, there's a couple that stand out, but you fire away with a few, and Andy and I will jump in. But who would you keep at Manchester United if you are Erik ten Hag?
So I got a friend of mine who's a huge Ajax fan, used to be in their academy a bunch of years ago, and he sent me a message as soon as this hiring was happening. He's like, "What do you think?" And we were trading back and forth. And I only came up with 4 names that I would absolutely, definitely keep. Now, that's not to say keep. Like, I would keep Fred around, for example. I know that's not popular, but he's a guy I think is a very useful player. But if I'm building, Rafael Varane is just entering his prime. I think he's 28, 29 years old for a center back. I keep De Gea unless I really believe in Henderson. Either way, I think you're setting goal. And then it's Sancho and it's Rashford. And anyone else is up for grabs. And part of that is, well, I think he's obviously going to keep Van de Beek, but that is to me, and something I believe in, by the way, but that is to me something that isn't, when you're talking about what I'd build around, not what I'd do.
Yeah. Let me jump in there. Bruno Fernandes.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back. No, but sure. But I'm going to make a point by the fact that you forgot him. Let's go back 12 months. Bruno Fernandes, we're talking about, could he win player of the season in like half of a season? He was that good as soon as he came to the Premier League. And we're 12 months on. And because of Cristiano Ronaldo being brought in, how that has affected Bruno on the field and tactically and taken away his impact statistically, just all the way across the board. We're forgetting Bruno Fernandes is even there at Manchester United. And I think that just kind of speaks to the chaos and dysfunction that has been in place and how they have built these squads year after year, that you hit on something. They hit on something incredible with Bruno. And then they just said, no, we don't want that anymore.
Yeah. And Andy, now
I don't understand.
He's the second best Bruno in the league now. I mean, it's really sad.
I just want to say our producer brought up a very good point that Nick mentioned Bruno Fernandes every single week last season, and rightly so, because he was sensational. But that regression has been very stark, and I think it all boils down to not being the main man, the talisman. I think certain players just go to another level, right? If they are the player that everyone leans on and the whole club leans on, they just feed off it and it makes them better. And that energy seems to have drained from Fernandes this season. I would keep him around. I think he showed enough quality that he can play, especially almost maybe in a false nine like Dusan Tadic has done for Ajax. If Ten Hag is going to play that system, that might be the best way to get him in the team, because I don't think working back defensively, playing a bit deeper, hasn't worked at all for him this season, the way they've tried to slot him into the team. I wouldn't keep Cristiano Ronaldo, and I obviously wouldn't keep Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba seems like he's going anyway. He's a free agent in the summer. But Ronaldo, for me, just would not fit this style or system. Edinson Cavani seems like he's on his way out as well when his contract's up. So yeah, I would keep Luke Shaw as well. I think that's Luke Shaw. I think he's had a bit of a down year like most England players, but he was very good for majority of last season and in the Euros. And I think he's had a few injuries, maybe a lack of confidence. But I don't know, Andy, what do you think? Any other players?
Yeah, I want to throw a question to you guys. And so let's go back to the WhatsApp conversation we were having yesterday. Scott McTominay, obviously, coming through the club and getting into the first team, it's like a free hit for a club when they can develop a player like that can be a useful, and I will emphasize, useful piece of the first team. But if we're talking about a player that's starting 20 and 25 and pushing 30 games in a season, can Manchester United actually reach the level that they want to? And so, like, what is the level? Like, what is the squad place for Scott McTominay in an ideal Manchester United next season?
Yeah, I don't think he should be a starting player. I think we're going to move on to that, but that is one of the areas where I think they should definitely strengthen. Focus on some of maybe the players out on loan who haven't had playing time and aren't in the picture at Manchester United right now. Donny van de Beek's obviously the obvious one at Everton, given his connection with Ten Hag at Ajax. Nick, I'm looking at some of the other players out on loan. Amad Diallo, Brandon Williams, Anthony Martial. James Garner at Nottingham Forest is a really interesting one. He's been leading their promotion push in the Championship. Silky midfield player, can link up midfield and attack. There's some good, talented players there. Any of those players that you think will get a second chance at Manchester United under Ten Hag?
I think they'll all get a chance. It's a matter of revolutionizing the attitude around here, which we've talked about so much. But Ronaldo and Pogba, and I'm sure other players, are still very much fantastic in terms of talent. But when you're going to rebuild, you kind of have to look at, even if they're your best players, and say, is there going to be residue? Is this a player who's capable of bringing everything we love about him and pushing the stuff we don't love to the back door? And that's why we've seen, when Mourinho moves somewhere, right, always trying to get Matic to come with him, right? Somebody that he trusts. So who are his lieutenants? And that's why I think, honestly, going beyond the loan route, and I know we'll have a whole summer to talk about this, when you look at the guys he's leaned on at Ajax, Nusar Mazraoui is an interesting one. Is Xavi going to have use for Frankie de Jong? Is he going to try and get the band back together with Matthias de Ligt? There are a lot of really, really good players that he had. And I do want to point this out. We do give grief to the Dutch league because it's not where it was, say, 30 years ago. But he took over when Ajax hadn't won in 4 years. And I think PSV had won most of them. Maybe another team had won in the mix. And they've won since. Since. So I do think this is a really good bid to get better, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Because, listen, could Anthony Martial become his Seb Haller in the Premier League? I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? Andy, where do they need to strengthen? I mean, where do they need to spend big? There's some obvious areas there. And who would you sign? Who's like a dream signing for Manchester United under Erik ten Hag?
The spine is where I would start. I'd start with another center back to go with Varane. I'd go with a defensive midfielder, maybe two of them, or a couple of two-way midfielders, I guess, probably would fit Ten Hag's system better. Players that are mobile and can both win the ball back and can progress the ball up the field and create chances. Van de Beek, he's obviously going to get a shot in preseason, but at a certain, I think we'll be able to tell from the outside, preseason friendlies and training sessions, how it's organized. Donny Van de Beek in the first team squad the entire time. And then maybe right before transfer deadline day hits, a new signing comes in and it's a midfielder, and Donny Van de Beek is suddenly, not through Erik ten Hag's plans or ideas, but he's suddenly pushed back down the pecking order. Just so that's the kind of thing that we're talking about with Manchester United. So I'd look at that, and a center forward as well. Cavani is at the age that he is. Marcus Rashford is at his best position. I kind of like a lot of what he does as kind of a secondary striker, playing off of someone else because he's good at the link-up play, but not so good at the hold-up. And so I have there's questions all over the field, but I'd start right up and down the middle of the field, because you can make that part of the team strong. You can help everybody else on the field. And I think it's probably the area that United have been weakest in recent years. They've had good wide players. They've had good wide attackers. They've had some pretty good fullbacks over the years as well. They just have had almost nothing straight up the middle of the field.
That's very true. And I just want to focus on one player we haven't mentioned at all, Harry Maguire. No one's really mentioned him at all. And I would argue that you should probably keep him around. I think that he is a ball-playing centre-back. Ten Hag likes to get it down, possess it. I think it will suit him a little bit better than being on the front foot. Pace is not something that he really has. So, yes, he's had a horrendous season. He knows that. Everyone who has watched him knows that. But I honestly don't think it can get any worse than this for him. So I think it's worth keeping him around. But
I don't know, man.
Yeah, if you play a high line with Harry Maguire at center back, that's not Harry Maguire's fault. That's the manager's fault. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, right? It's now, we said it at the very top, it's not getting superstars in that don't fit the system. It's getting Erik ten Hag in, getting players who he wants in to play a certain style, suited to a certain style of play. We see it at Liverpool, we see it at Man City. Not necessarily the superstar players all the time that go there, but a lot of the time, obviously, they fit the team unit better, and it's not an individual game. It's a team sport. And Manchester United, for far too long, have just signed individuals. And then once they arrive, we'll figure out where we can slot them in. But that has to stop. It looks like it is going to stop under Erik ten Hag. He likes to have control of everything. I thought it was really interesting in the announcement. He's not becoming a new head coach. He's becoming a new manager. He's going to have a lot of pull. And, Murtaugh and Darren Fletcher are still there in the director of football roles. And the hierarchy there, I think he will have a lot of hands-on in terms of recruitment. So I think we will see a lot of players coming in from Ajax, be it Anthony, maybe Gravenberch, maybe even Edson Alvarez, someone like that. Not the flashiest signings, but players that will work and know his style of play. And I'm really, really intrigued to see how this works out. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest news around this hire from Manchester United. Erik ten Hag has finally been confirmed as their new boss. Obviously, not been going well for them on the pitch end of the season. They may be able to sneak fourth place, but I think that's a big ask now in the final few weeks of the season. But regardless, it's going to be a really interesting summer at Manchester United to see who's coming in, who's going to leave, and how Erik ten Hag leads this massive, massive rebuild of arguably the biggest football team in the world.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series, and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches, and much more.